I want to talk about Liz Truss drawing up plans to overhaul what she calls a convoluted subsidised childcare system that could hand money directly to families instead of nurseries. At present, parents of all 3- and 4-year-olds in England can claim 15 hours of free care a week for 38 weeks of the year, and the money is paid directly to nurseries. However, under new plans, parents would be handed the money to spend on childcare as they see fit, including giving the money to grandparents that are helping with childcare. Well, with me to discuss these plans is the Tory MP, Miriam Cates MP. Miriam, these plans sound good to me because I tell you what I've been quite conscious of. The fact that we seem to be handing more and more away from the parent to the state. Are you concerned about that as well?
Yes, I am. I mean, I think there are much bigger issues about childcare and parenting than just this 3-year-old and 4-year-old funding. But I do think this is an excellent idea because I think a lot of parents kind of face this choice at the moment of feeling like they need to go back to work when their child is 3, financially needing to go back to work, but not really liking what's on offer or it not being suitable. So if you work shifts, if you don't have an easy pattern of work, funded childcare is not always the best offer. It's also not always the best for the child, I don't think. And I do think it's a good idea to be able to use grandparents and childminders and more at-home care. But I'd also like to see it be extended to actually a cash offer to parents so they can use it to not work so many hours and look after the children themselves. So I do think that's usually in the child's best interests.
Yeah, do you think there needs to be a look at the whole regulatory system that we've got as far as childcare is concerned? Because we in this country, as far as the OECD is concerned, comparing ourselves with like-minded, similar nations, we experience extremely high childcare costs in this country, don't we?
We do, but I think, as I said, I think there's much bigger issues behind it. And one of the reasons that families find it so difficult in this country is because of our tax system. So we have a very individualised tax system in this country. The Treasury only sees you as an individual. They see your gross pay, if you like, and tax you on that basis. Whereas in most other comparable countries, people have an option to be taxed as a household or a couple. And so the number of dependents you have, the number of children you're bringing up is taken into account. And so, of course, as a family then, if you have dependents, you pay less tax and more of your money goes into be able to helping to raise your children. Whereas in this country, we have complete gaps in the system. So, for example, between the ages of 6 months, where normally maternity pay ends for the mother, and 3 years when the childcare vouchers start, we don't have a policy at all. There is no help either to stay at home and there's no help with childcare. So there's an enormous gap in our policy at the moment. So I do very much welcome these plans. I think putting power back in the hands of parents, enabling more parents to have a better choice about how they look after their children is a good thing. But I do think we need much bigger considerations about our tax system and about what parents are supposed to do in those early years.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope Truss gets looking at those taxes as well. Now, Miriam, I want to talk about your really important piece in The Telegraph today on the Mermaids controversy. That's a charity for those of my viewers who don't know, but many have been getting in touch saying, look what Miriam Cates has said today. I love it. Should the government be actually prioritising these sort of things, looking into what charities like Mermaids are doing? Because I'm wondering, do many parents even know, Miriam, what's going on these days, where you've potentially got a child who's been sent a what do you call them, Miriam? These breast exactly, yeah, being sent these kinds of things and not knowing about it. How much has this actually been going on?
Well, that is the question, Darren, isn't it? The fact is this has been happening behind parents' backs, and that's why so many parents don't know about it, or when they do find out about it, why they are so outraged and so frightened. And I think it's easy to paint this story as a story about trans rights, but it's not. It's a story about a safeguarding failure. I mean, sadly, we know that there are people in our society who mean children harm or who do harm without meaning to, and that's why we have such strong safeguarding procedures in our schools, in our society. But of course, those procedures only work if they apply to everyone. And the best protection for children is to be with their parents, with their families. Of course, parents don't always get everything right. I know that as a mother of 3, but it's stating the obvious. There's nobody who's more biologically, more emotionally invested in the welfare of a child than their parents. So the first rule of safeguarding is that we should be very nervous about anyone who tries to cut children off from their parents, who encourages children to keep secrets from their family. It doesn't matter how trendy their viewpoint or how progressive their agenda. That is a risk if someone or some organisation is trying to cut children off from their parents. Predators look for loopholes. If we allow those loopholes to exist, they will be exploited. And that's what's happened here. I'm afraid Mermaids and other charities and institutions that have bought into this kind of extreme gender identity theory have gone down the route of cutting children off from their parents. And that's why we've got this enormous safeguarding scandal now.
So, Miriam, what I would say is Mermaids have denied allegations of safeguarding failures and actually said that they're the victim of a smear campaign. And that comes as the National Lottery, of course, has paused a £500,000 grant to the charity. So there's a lot going on there, Miriam. We're going to have to leave it there. But thank you so much for your time. As ever, that was the fantastic MP, Miriam Cates, for Penistone and Stocksbridge.